The legend of the Wendigo was originated near the 1400s, and the word Wendigo meant evil that devours. This legend was primarily believed by the Native Americans, who are also known as the Algonquin people, and this belief has been passed down in their generation for years. They believe that a Wendigo is a demonic spirit that possesses humans' bodies and turns them into cannibals, and thus will eventually transform them into terrifying human-like creatures. In other traditions, some also believe that the person who is embodied by the Wendigo spirit does not transform into anything while doing violent cannibalistic acts. There are different ways of calling the Wendigo, like Witiko, Witigo, or of course Wendigo, but it was still translated as the evil spirit that devours mankind, which meant cannibalism. The transformation of the Wendigo is associated in the winter, situated in snow-covered mountains where time, food, and heat are scarce. The spirit of the Wendigo would then start to possess on those who are isolated from the community and are stuck in the northern forest while fighting through famine and the cold. As the victims kept experiencing famine as the weeks ensue, the spirit of the Wendigo would start to possess their bodies and turn them into cannibals. The more the victims embody the evil spirit, the more they crave for human flesh, and even the strongest person on earth cannot resist to it. Once they first taste on human flesh, the hideous transformation will begin. During transformation, the victims' hands would feel unclean, and their nails and their teeth would be pushed out in a twisted and ghastly way. It will take approximately a year for the full transformation to be complete. There are different versions of the Wendigo, and some say it is a cannibalistic spirit that resembles a zombie or an animal. The most well-known version of this monster is when it was formerly a human being who then was transformed into this monster. In this case, the Wendigo would have a terrifying human-like appearance. The Wendigo's spine would be disfigured and their back would be hunched. Their nails and their teeth would become very sharp and be protruded in a twisted way. As a result of the transformation, their eyesight would change, causing them to have a vision that can only be reacted through movements. The Wendigos would grow up to 50 feet tall, and their limbs would become very strong and nimble. With extreme strength, they have the ability to climb up any walls or jump at any spots any time, regardless of the height or distance. Because of the transformation, their pupils will eventually turn gray and disappear, leaving only their white, milky, sunken eyes for their appearance. The Wendigos would lose all of their hair, regarding from all other body parts too, of course. And for those who are wondering what male and female Wendigos look like, no, they'll look the same, apparently. Wendigos would become skeletal at the end and hence lose male and female characteristics. As for the Wendigo's characteristics, they'll not have genital or reproductive systems for them to make baby Wendigos. They cannot fall in love with each other, with other animals, or with other mythical creatures. They cannot fall in love with humans, or even turn into human. They cannot suddenly have those moments of realization like Beauty and the Beast or any other happy ending examples at the end. Wendigos were former humans who had been possessed by an evil spirit, and their only concern is to crave and hunt for and eat human flesh. Period. In fact, they would even kill each other in order to reduce competition for food. Wendigos are very clever creatures because they were once human, but their brain would not have the ability to feel happiness, sadness, anger, pity, sympathy, and etc., but only satisfaction through cannibalism. I haven't gone too deep on the part whether they digest waste or not and how it works, but I surely do know that they are always hungry. When hunting for their prey, it would take several hours, and Wendigos usually prefer hunting alone at night than in packs. Even though they remain inhumane naturally throughout, they do not lose their humanity completely, hence they use human-like tricks to lure their prey. When it comes to the Wendigo's eyesight, they hunt for the movements that their prey makes. Humans who move a lot and are mobile are highlighted in their vision, but Wendigos cannot track down those who remain still, which makes it hard to target. Oftentimes, Their prey, known as humans, are very clever and would remain still, and thus the Wendigos would screech as loud as they can in order to scare their prey into moving. Now, we all know that Wendigos only desire one thing, which is human flesh. They do not eat vegetables, fruits, non-edible objects, other animals, etc., unless they've somehow mistaken them for humans, which would absurdly never happen to my knowledge. It is believed that a Wendigo would grow taller and stronger from every victim they consume. The more they consume, the hungrier they get, and thus would eventually remain permanently hungry forever once the transformation is complete. It's not been proven if a Wendigo's bite is contagious or not, but the Native Americans believed it's not. So it's not infectious like zombie bites. Now, in order to kill a Wendigo, punching and kicking will not work, guaranteed. Wendigos are very strong, and in fact their skin is stretched extremely tight that bullets or knives cannot pierce through them. The only way to kill a Wendigo is to burn them with fire. That causes them to have their outer layer of skin burnt off. And not only does it cause them extreme pain and vulnerability, but it kills them. Which is easier said than done, of course. Now, so far we all know that Wendigos are a skeletal, terrifying human-like creature that only consumes the flesh of a human and can only be killed with fire. Even though this is a myth, it appears that this myth has influenced some people in the past. Now, this is a real story from the early 20th century about a guy named Jack Fiddler who had killed over 14 people who he claimed were Wendigos or were about to become one of them. Jack Fiddler was a full name that the Europeans called him, but his full name was Jauno Gijugo Gabao, which meant he who stands in the southern sky. Jack Fiddler was a Cree Indian and was born in around Sandy Lake in northwestern Ontario in the 1830s or 40s. He was a shaman, a person who practices divination and healing, and he also led the Sucker people, from the community known as the First Nations today. His people loved him because he healed and protected them. Seems like a nice guy so far, right? Well, things started to change when he told a minister that he had killed over 14 Wendigos. In 1907, this information has been spread throughout and has reached the Royal West Mounted Police. The police then decided to investigate this, and during their travel, they found out that a woman named Wazakapikwe was choked to death the previous year by Fiddler and his brother Pezequin. When the two brothers were arrested, they strongly claimed that the woman was possessed by the Wendigo spirit and had to be killed for the safety of their people. It's quite ironic because the woman was part of their people too. They were put in jail on June 15th, and 15 weeks later, Jack Fiddler escaped and committed suicide, and that was the end of his story. Of course, Fiddler's story is a rare and unique one, but as we can see here, that myth can definitely influence some people in some ways. Now, regarding to Fiddler's point of view, it is obvious that he believed in the existence of Wendigos through the murders that he executed, but in the eye of other people, his reason was definitely absurd or just an excuse. Now, obviously, the terrifying human-like Wendigos do not exist, but it can be an illusion that exists in people's minds, and just like all the other mythical creatures, it's an imagination. Thank you.